sports fans from all around the globe. I am your host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and this is your midday market report for Wednesday, August 17th, 2022. Just 2 weeks, 14 days left in August. Holy shit, does time just fly. Wow. Our weekly trip across the border with the expert from Wager Talk from McInnis Picks, Mr. Andrew McInnis, anxiously awaiting a little trip to Vegas. Did I say Vegas? A little meet and greet. I know a lot of people out there anxiously awaiting his arrival and people waiting to shake hands, talk shop, and get ready to look up at this gentleman. I'm telling you right now, the Celtics could use a point guard with someone of his size. I was kind of surprised at first, but the nicest guy in the Superbook that day, hands down, it's not even up for debate. I had an amazing time in March when we met him. And I will not be out for this meet and greet, but we plan to meet and greet closer to home, hopefully sooner than later. So without further ado, let's bring him in, the one and only, Mr. Andrew McInnis.
Jeff, I'll tell you, I couldn't have been the nicest guy in there because you were in the room, and you're way too nice with your intros and always very nice with connecting people around. So I appreciate you, and I'm surprised to see you in the garden right now, man. What is it, hockey season right now? I love it.
Well, our little Red Sox got a little momentum going. They're playing Dave's Pirates as we speak later tonight. But I figured, last week, this week, we're talking some World Juniors. So I might give you a little flavor of the garden, which you on one of your trips back east this late fall, maybe early winter, might be with me, right behind the net.
I like it. I look forward to hopefully doing that. And yeah, it's kind of a weird time right now, Jeff, because obviously we're heavy into the NFL work and stuff like that, trying to sprinkle, as you say, with the preseason. But the CFL season is, heavily underway, more than halfway through, of course. World Juniors. So there's lots going on right now, that's for sure.
I every night I tune into the World Juniors when I'm doing my work for the following day, keeping track on our plays, which miraculously we were 4-0 last night. It's been a while since we had one of those,
awesome.
But dug deep and opened up the playbook a little, and I was able to get 3 team totals over 4 and a hook, so we were happy there. Every time I turn on the World Juniors, I see Ian Cameron's face right there, because when it started, there it was. Look at the attendance, blah, 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 blah. Listen, if there's 100 people there, that's 100 people more that they have versus just not playing this tournament at all.
Well, and it's not like they didn't have much of a choice, right? Would they have loved to have had it in, I don't know, June, May, maybe? These kids were still playing their junior careers. There was, maybe an NHL draft going on, NHL training, development camps, all kinds of stuff. So, my argument was that, of course, it's not ideal. That's like when I went to Vegas in December. It wasn't really ideal, but I still had a blast. You know what I mean? I still wanted to go. Was it cold? Yeah, it was cold for Vegas. I still wanted to go. The tournament's still going on. I've enjoyed it. And guess what? There was actually history made recently in the World Juniors. Latvia made the quarterfinals for the first time in the history of the tournament, and not just squeaking by in a 5-2 victory, I believe. So hats off to them for that. It has been a good tournament, has been an exciting one. And without Russia, it was kind of cool to see a team like that step in. It almost adds to the storyline, Jeff. People thought Latvia would just come in and everybody would beat them down, so it kind of makes for the storyline. The team that came in that nobody had any hopes for them comes in and gets the job done. So yeah, disappointing results there. But like I told you, I'm excited because the World Juniors are coming to my hometown in December and January. So I'll be sending all kinds of pictures of the attendance for that event.
We talked last Wednesday. We were trying to break that down against Canada. and U.S. coming off of a shutout. And I said, well, Vegas is saying that Latvia scores 1 goal at tops, if not get shut out. And you send me a direct message. Oh my God, they scored. Oh my God, they scored 2 goals.
I realize, and honestly, for Canada, their defense and goaltending hasn't been excellent. I'd say a large portion of my wagers this tournament, Jeff, have been overs. Just 2 top teams, not second guessing it. And I'll start with the first one today. I mean, Latvia, Sweden here. DraftKings is showing -3.5. Sweden +125, +3.5 is -145 for Latvia. Total of 6. I'm on the under 6 here at -$1.15. Latvia didn't get here by lighting the lamp. I mean, they did in that previous game, but not against the tough teams that are now here in the position that they are in. And at 6 at the 115, I'll take that because it's going to be a soccer mentality of park the bus. I'm not saying they're going to go in there and play scared. They're happy to be there. And you know what? They've got some talented players up front, but Sweden has a lot of scorers, lots of them, and a great goaltender as well. I think this one's going to be a low scoring contest, maybe somewhere along the lines of 3-1 for Sweden, where if I was actually playing this game, I would potentially look towards Latvia. We're getting a field goal on the hook in a hockey game here, +3.5. And obviously it's some juice on that one, but I'll take the under in the first game because I think that, they made it here. They made it here by scoring some goals, but they're not going to win a 5-4 style of hockey. And Sweden, that's not really them either. That's more so the Americans and the Canadians. This Swedish team is actually built from their blue line. They're talented there. Those guys have some guys that will move up in the rush, but mostly they're just stay-at-home defensemen. And I like this 6 here at -115.
Well, I'm just playing a little game here with you. If you took them plus the 3.5 and you took the under 6, and I assume their team total again, is it a half or is it 1.5? Because if they got to 2 again in this one, you would end up somehow, some way being a winner.
And yeah, there's a couple that, you could play the team total, you could play the plus 3.5 and the under and cash all 3.
So now we jump to 7 o'clock, Switzerland against Canada. No money line here. Canada -5.5, -115. You can get Switzerland +5.5. Under over is 7.5 juiced over -120. So now again, like we talked about Latvia, Switzerland again. This is going back to last week's game. So Switzerland going to get shut out? Are they only going to score 1? Or are you going to be DMing me and say, holy shit, they scored 2?
Yeah, let's see here. Switzerland, I see one sports book has it at just 1 even, Jeff. Like Switzer over under 1 goal. Over is -106, under is like -120 or something like that. I honestly like the +5.5 for Switzerland here. Canada has gotten better as the tournament has moved forward. There's no denying that. But I have still seen them be involved in games where they're relying on their offense to pick it up late in game. They have not played in really one game besides, I think, maybe against Austria, I think, that was just over by the end of the first period. A lot of their games, and I'm talking, to be very clear here, I'm talking like point spread, goal spread perspective, not just winning the game perspective. I think that Switzerland keeps it close. Look at a lot of games they've been involved in. If we were to take a look at kind of ATS records, so to speak, for this tournament, I think Switzerland is high up there on the charts. They keep things close. They're a tight checking team. They're good defensively, and they stay out of the box, and when you're playing against teams like the Americans or the Canadians, that's a lot of the times where they kill you is on their special teams. When you've got 4 or 5 first-round NHL draft picks out there moving the puck around and putting the puck in the net, I think Switzerland actually keeps this close. And 5.5 as the goal line here. I'm a Canadian. I want them to win, but I'm not sure it's going to be by 6.
Geez, you talked about getting a field goal and a hook here. If you could buy the hook, you'd be getting a goddamn touchdown in a
Like those are the goal lines I want to lay day 2 or 3 of the tournament, right? The only thing that worries me is they could be down like 3 goals and then pull the goalie and then Canada scores. I mean, that's the stuff that it kind of bugs me a little bit. But I think Canada, because one thing about Canada as well is that, like I've said, because they haven't had that many low scoring contests, now that they're in this like elimination round, I want to see better defense out of them. And I believe the coaching staff will be preaching that as well. So, they could win this game, Jeff, 5-0, and we cover the goal line. That's what's crazy about how big this number is. They could shut out Switzerland, but we still cash this bet, which is kind of funny to think,
Well, especially when it's a 7 juiced under minus 120. Actually,
Mm-hmm.
7.5 juiced over. So basically 7, 6-1 final.
I'll happily take it.
Going to the 10:30 game, the Czechs versus USA. USA minus 700 in the money line. You can grab the Czechs plus 475 and under over 7 juiced under minus 120. USA minus 2.5 minus 140. Czechs plus 2.5 plus 120. So they're Vegas leaning on the fact that they think the US wins by 3 or more with a 7 juiced under. 5-0, 5-1. To me, outside looking in, just outside looking in. Now, these are elimination games. It just smells a little to me. I'm not saying the U.S. is going to lose, but the number seems a little light to me on the puck line. You just said Canada was 5 and a hook. Sweden's 3 and a hook. Finland was 3 and a hook. Now up 3-1 against Germany. I think in the second there. Does it seem a little light to you?
Oh, it does for sure. It does, but you know what though, Czech Republic. I'm just searching up while we're on here because I want to take a look at some of the scores here from them because you know what, Czech Republic have been involved in some high scoring games. So do the odds makers think they can hang with USA? Like to me, getting plus 100 on over 7 is where I would look.
Okay.
Because I actually think that Czech has some talent. They can put the puck in the net, but their defense isn't that solid. And I can, of course, count on there's several big names on the Americans roster that can score as well. So, taking a look at some of the games that Czech Republic has been involved in, they haven't been able to hold a lead. They've given up goal. I mean, it was 5 goals that they allowed to Latvia. Let's not forget, and so you'd think that you and I could score a goal or 2 against Latvia. Usually, I mean, Canada used to put up 15 goals against them, right? So I like over 7, and I love when you're getting in these World Junior tournaments totals at a plus price. I love when the market thinks a little bit differently than me on these, especially in an elimination round where you're expected to see a lower scoring, which is kind of what I said about the Canadian game. But Czech has been playing pond hockey all tournament. I've cashed several over tickets with them, and a lot of their over tickets has been against lower tier teams, like I mentioned with Latvia. So now put them up against the Americans. I don't think they can battle in a low scoring game. I think, and their special teams, as far as their penalty kill, not very good. PP, I think it's been pretty good. So at 7, I'm going to go over here. And what's great about it is that, like you said, it's kind of a fishy number. And you wonder, do they know something about Czech that we don't, that maybe this should be 3.5 and because the Americans have gotten better as the tournament's gone on. They started kind of slow, I thought, even against the good-ish teams, but they can put up goals. So I'm going to go over here, over 7. And I honestly wouldn't be surprised to see, something like a 6-3 game, something like that. And to your point, that's just along the line of a cover for the Americans.
Last week, CFL, give us your recap, what you saw, how you did overall for the weekend, and what you're looking at initially. Now, as you said, we're past the halfway point where we're getting longer into the season. Teams banged up, teams getting healthier, teams starting to put something together.
I found that with the CFL this year, it has been one of those years where you better not get an opinion about a team and keep that for longer than 3 weeks. You know, like whatever you think about this team, if they're a bet on, don't keep that same train of thought for longer than a week or two. And I think that's been the biggest challenge for me this year, which has been, it's been kind of fun because I think if you're a trend better, not just, you know, following totals or sides, but if you're somebody that's just picking a team to bet on besides maybe Winnipeg and BC, it's been an up and down battle, you know, so picking your spots and looking at things that way. And I think Saskatchewan is a team that's really important to mention in that conversation because they were a fade team for a few weeks. They had a couple things going on with them, suspensions, injuries, COVID protocol. And now they're kind of going to get back in their groove, I think, a little bit here. But, you know, last week, we saw a number get just extremely inflated to start off the week. It was a home-and-home Winnipeg, Montreal. Montreal hands the Winnipeg Blue Bombers their first loss. And I just heard you in the back of my head saying, sprinkle, do a little sprinkle. And I didn't do it. I just played the spread. Obviously happy to cash a ticket when your team wins outright. But they're such a tricky team right now because they've had, you know, such a high capability level, really, you know, high potential, I should say, but they just didn't meet it all year. They were fumbling the ball around, throwing picks, and that was the best game they've played so far. So that was a real good one to kind of start off the week there. And then Hamilton, Toronto. You and I talked about that one. I saw a smile on your face when we would start talking about that one, and I know kind of what side you were on there. And so it was a good week to feel like I saw the board pretty well, you know. BC Calgary, that one is the one I wish you feel good to be able to say this, but I wish I put more money on that over. You know, I that was a smaller wager for me on the board. You know, I was like two teams that I don't want to play under right now. I'm just high total though, going to go over 41-40. You know, a game winning drive with a field goal by BC. And Nathan Rourke continues to get calls from NFL and different guys in the American football scene. So I think BC is going to pay him as much as they possibly can in the offseason so that he becomes their next franchise quarterback. But the last game of the week there, I ended up playing my best bet of the week being the Saskatchewan first half against Edmonton. And I'll just be honest. Sometimes you got to admit when stuff happens to you in your favor, because I've had a couple of bad beats this season. 97-yard return touchdown, cashed it to win the half by 4. And if it wasn't for the punt single to start off the game, I wouldn't have cashed that. So they go on to win the game. What was it? 34-23. So if I would have played the full game, it would have been kind of sweat free. The first half, obviously, you have to get a little bit lucky. But I'll tell you, I've never really had good luck playing favorites in big picks on first halves. I feel like from now on, that was almost a learning lesson for me. If I'm going to have a big play on a first half, it's going to be a dog, because I want to give that favorite more time to do what they're better at to win that game by margin, like by a lot. But it was a real good week for me in the CFL. I think that we learned a lot about Montreal. I'd say Hamilton's in a unique situation right now. Those two teams are playing each other this week, and BC continues to roll. But I've got my eye on Saskatchewan for this week as well. So we'll jump into that.
And I like what you said a few seconds ago, seeing the board well. I always talk about right side, wrong results. Sometimes you'd rather lose, by 30 than by a pick six at the buzzer or something like that. So when you're seeing the board well, you talked about the fact that, hey, maybe, the undefeated team, how long can it go on? We've talked at length for weeks and weeks. This team is just a cash cow. Well, now do they bounce back? If I'm looking correctly, they're off this week.
Yes.
So they get the chance to lick their wounds and be salty and come out next week. So it's kind of good, though, especially when you're focused in. And then you get the Jedi mind tricks, though, Andrew. Do I play the full game or do I play the first half?
Yeah.
And I think you're spot on. I do it a lot of times where I like a dog, but maybe they're only good for the first half. The cream rises to the top. Then you stop making mistakes, or you start to get a little tighter. Be like, holy shit, we got a chance to win this game. No one thought we could win this game.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And you got to get lucky sometimes, right? I'm not going to come on here and I wish my best bet of the week was that over 41-40, but hey, the best bet cash into -3 first half. But to your point, sometimes those dogs, they hang around, but then they might even collapse in the fourth quarter. So I think from now on in the CFL, if I'm taking a big play on a dog and I'm looking towards first half full game, maybe I'll convince myself they might have a good start, but might not be able to stick around. I'd be curious what those numbers are, Jeff, for the Winnipeg, their opponent's first half spread this season, because they've led the league in fourth quarter points. They've been a very good second half team. So I'd be very curious how Winnipeg's opponents have done against the spread in the first half compared to the full game. And I bet you if we looked, it would be 500 or better for the opponent versus in the full game. Winnipeg wasn't just winning straight up; they were winning against the spread. But we'll talk about this next week, or we'll send in some pictures or something. But they're playing Calgary next week, a team that they have their number at home too, so that should be pretty interesting.
Almost to the point where you're saying that you could not take any action on the pre-flop, wait till halftime, and then come in on Winnipeg on the second half number.
Absolutely, no doubt about it. Live betting has been really good so far in the CFL season.
7:00 Friday, my Edmonton Elks at Ottawa. Right now, Edmonton -4.5, juice to -115. Next move looks like it'll go to 5 and under over a 48 flat. And Ottawa Red Blacks -200 on the money line. Edmonton +170. I've seen this script before, Andrew. I've seen this script before. I'll be interested to see what you like here.
I like the under 48 here. I actually punched it in. It was 48.5, then 48, so it's continuing to go down a little bit. But to me, these are two teams that if they had allergies, they would be allergic to the end zone, because they are field goal kicking teams, and that's how they put points up on the board. Ottawa's last game against Calgary, they couldn't do much there. Edmonton, they have the receivers, but Cornelius has not been the answer for them. They've had two quarterbacks go down with injury, which is rough to see for them. And sure, their defense has given up points. There's no denying it. But you know what? Both these teams kind of have over trends behind their names, and more so for Edmonton, but it's because their opponents are the ones carrying those overs. As far as their individual team totals, under. So I like to look at that. Why is a team trending more towards the over? Is it them doing the scoring, or has it been their opponent the whole time? And if the answer for me is, the latter of those two, then I'm not scared to take an under with them, because it's not like it's them that's carrying the bulk of the scoring. It is going to be a highly run type of game here in this one to open the CFL week. And I believe Ottawa has a couple injuries on the receiving position as well. And their defense, I think, is still their best trait. I mean, their coach, he's a defensive guy. I think that 48 here, the number that we're seeing is there because of the points they've been allowing, not the points that these two teams have been putting up on the board. So yeah, it could go against me and say, you know what, both these teams are going to go up against weak defense potentially and expose them. I think it's the opposite. I think these teams have good defense. Their offenses just aren't there. But they're going up against really good teams they just can't hang with. So I think it's inflated because of the opponents they've been playing against. All the overs I've taken against Edmonton, like I had a big pick 2 or 3 weeks ago, BC Edmonton over. I could have just taken BC on the spread. You know what I mean? A lot of the big picks I've had on these overs involving bad teams, every single time the favorite cashed. I didn't even need to take the total. I could have just taken the favorite. So I like the under here. And I think at the 4.5, 5, might be time to take a trip back to the road dog and definitely sprinkle the money line here. And as we know, Edmonton has not been a good home team. So on the road, it's a team that you actually don't even want to worry about. They play better. They get better numbers. And Ottawa, taking a look at their last game against Calgary, they put up 3 points. But not only that, I had the box score pulled up here. Let me see. So, Nick Arbuckle, 2 interceptions. Caleb Evans comes in. He throws an interception. So, I mean, what's the answer for them? They could have a bye week. They could have 3 bye weeks in a row. I don't trust their offense. They're going to try and win this game, 17-10, something like that. I mean, it's going to be a boring football game. If some of these more popular sports books and ones you could get in America offered props, I'd be throwing out props left and right on the running backs for this game. That's what I expect here.
I love me some Elks plus 4.5, some plus 170. Like I said, I've cashed a few of these this year on them. I think they're sneaky this week. I'll go on record and I'll make sure we go under here.
Awesome.
23-17 Edmonton.
Okay. Outright win. I like it.
Outright, baby. We're sprinkling. 10 o'clock BC at Saskatchewan, BC -5. The largest total of the week, over 52, -110. BC -210 on the money line. Saskatchewan home dog plus 180 on the money line.
Look, I obviously teased this kind of at the start here, but I really, really like Saskatchewan at the plus 5, 5.5, depending on where you're looking around, really. But this is a BC team that just continues to put up points. There is no denying what Nathan Rourke and that offense is doing. And last week was just another example of a big game. And it must be so frustrating for Calgary to have the game of their season and to still end up losing that one. But Saskatchewan, like I said, they're a perfect example of a team that if you just started watching the CFL maybe 3 weeks ago, you're saying, what is going on with this line? Right. But I had my preseason thoughts. I watched them throughout the first couple weeks of the season. And then you see a kind of a 3 or 4 week span with injuries, with fumbles, with, travel spots and stuff like that. I'm not making, a boatload of excuses for them. But I feel like against a division rival like this at Mosaic Stadium, I think the best home field advantage in the league, they can keep things tight. And if you look at it with the BC Lions, some big games they've won recently, like last week, have come by game-winning field goal kicks. That happens this weekend by either team. Of course, we get the cover, and a lot of people are saying that Cody Fajardo still might not be the answer and might not be the guy that's, playing top tier for Saskatchewan and stuff like that. And he's, not healthy and stuff, but I don't really think it matters that much when you have several contributors on offense and a defense that I think is really solid. So I get it. They're coming off a game against the Elks. And as much as you and I like betting on them when they're plus 5, they're not really a team that's going to hang with, the elite of the elite. But I think getting points is the way to go here, Jeff. And I will say that out of a lot of different teams in the CFL, it does mean a lot to me that they're playing at home here. They haven't really played their best at home on the season, and I think that this is a good spot for them to keep things close. This will be the one I think surprises a lot of people. The Elks one could surprise people too, but those are 2 crappy teams battling it out. This is a BC team putting up 30 points a game. It seems like. People are going to, I think, count out Saskatchewan in this game. I'll be at the Westgate Superbook giving out CFL picks when all the coworkers are betting on these crappy NFL preseason. I'll dabble. I dabble in the preseason, but more units, I think, on the CFL for sure.
Oh, and I can't wait to hear the war stories, of course, because in the first week, if you had the overs on every one of the NFL preseasons, you were 13-3, and there's going to be a lot of people crawling out of the woodworks that want to meet you and say, "Hey, Andrew, just to let you know, I started my service last week, and we're 9-1 right now. Can I work for Wager Talk? Who do I talk to?"
Yeah. I bet every over last week, and the games flew over.
Exactly. Tell me, give me their name and email address. I want to hit them up around October 1st to see how they're doing. How's that?
Yeah, around the Super Bowl, I'm gonna say like, hey, are you taking the under or the over? I'll bet you anything in the world they're betting the over.
And the favorite. Don't forget the
Yeah,
favorite.
yeah. But no, Jeff, I think it's a good week in the CFL this week. Honestly, I mean, we're talking about those two dogs to start things out, but um, I think it's also a good totals week here. 52.5 being the total, and this will be the first time as well where I would actually. I don't know if I'll get to a window with it, but this might be the first time in a while where I would look towards under, as far as BC and that game is concerned. Strictly based on the past couple of teams that they've played, even throw Winnipeg into the mix when they've played against top elite opponents. You know, they've traded points a little bit, but Saskatchewan's defense is really tough, and not only just that, their drives take a long time. Of course, it's CFL. Every now and then, if it's like second and long, they might go for it, like a 30-yard toss, 40-yard toss, but they love to run the ball down your throat. They love to throw that 10-yard slant. And if you're someone that's betting the over and you're betting on Saskatchewan games, you're looking up at that scoreboard and seeing tick, 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 the clock just, winding down. So if you're betting an under in the BC Lions games, you're holding your breath for about 3.5 hours. But I feel like if there was a game to do it, this might be the one.
I agree. I agree as well. So we could come out with on a Friday night special with 2 dogs and a couple sprinkles, and who knows? We'll see. Saturday, 4:00, Hamilton against Montreal. Montreal -3, -105. The Tiger Cats +3, -115. Next move will probably go to 2.5 if that moves. 48 and a hook. You're over under juiced -110 both sides. Montreal -150 on the money line, and Hamilton +130 on the money line. I talked about Hamilton last week. I thought it was kind of a decent spot. I'm not saying they're rounding into form, okay? Because again, I'm not the CFL expert. I am just this little guy on Cape Cod that when I catch it on ESPN, ESPN2 plus whatever, I enjoy it. I take all my information from you and process it. So we'll be interested to see which way you're leaning here.
Well, I think, Jeff, we're doing the show every week together, and you're following the league just like I am, and we're bouncing opinions. I consider myself to be bouncing opinions off you as well, because the way the games are going, the market is reading these scores and things. You're a CFL guy. We're transitioning into you, be a CFL guy. First of all, it all counts the same. If you make a few $100 on one sport versus the other, it all spends the same at dinner. That's for sure. Look, with this game, I agree with you that Hamilton they've underachieved throughout the season. I think that, but there was a point where I found myself making too many excuses for them. And when I'm handicapping, I don't like to make excuses for teams. Like a couple moments ago when I was talking about Saskatchewan, I was making excuses for them, but they had suspended players. They had an injured key player. Their quarterback had an injured leg. I mean, to me, those are reasonable excuses. As far as Hamilton goes, I think, what do they have? I think it's 3 games where Dane Evans threw a pick late in the fourth quarter to lose them a game. That's just not something that you want to have. And their defense is something that I thought would be one of the top things I could come on here and say, this is what won them the game. This stop late in the game is what kind of secured their win for them. I like the over in this contest. I'm going to stay off the side here and expect over 48.5. Montreal, they've been an over team on the year. They've been an over team at home. And I think they're kind of finding their rhythm as well. You look at the past couple of games, no matter really who they've played, they've been able to put up some points and gain confidence against certain teams. And back in week 8, it was 24-17 between these two teams. But like you mentioned, I feel like since then, these teams have played a little bit different football. They've improved their offense a little bit. They've changed things up a little. Special team offense. Montreal, I gotta tip my hat to their special teams because their punt returners have been phenomenal. Especially in the CFL, how many punts there are per game. It's so important to have great returners. That's the way I'd look as the over here. And to be honest with you, I think that I'll probably I'll bet live whichever team goes down first. Is that fair to say? I mean, whichever team scores a touchdown, I'll probably end up on the other team when they're down. Especially if I can see Montreal. If Montreal scores first and I can get a good like plus 10 or something like that on the Tiger Cats, I'll probably end up on that.
I like the thought process. Of course, pre-flop, slight lean to Hamilton plus the 3, plus the 130. In my eyes, Montreal at home, only minus a field goal, only minus 150 on the money line. Kind of one of those, seems a little short to me. Listen, the Elks are my team. I'm not going to let them go, but I like the way Hamilton has been playing. And, listen, they're only plus 130, and they're giving you a field goal. So those numbers don't equate in my eyes.
It is weird. And I think with Hamilton, though, this is like one of those games where if they come in here and put up points again, I'll start buying it. Even though Montreal gives up points to a lot of teams, I need to see 4 quarters of good football, which is why I kind of just like the over here. I like what both teams are doing recently. I don't know who's going to come up in the clutch. So that's why I kind of said if I can get like a plus 10 with Hamilton, sign me up all week. I'll be downloading the Westgate app the second I get there. I like getting the tickets though, Jeff. I will say I'm not as much of an app guy. Like I like you don't like it?
Oh, see, no, I'm all in on tickets. It's the experience. It's going to the window. It's saying, hello, how are you? They're saying, good, how are you? It's calling out the rotation number. And when you do, they look at you like, holy shit, okay, this guy knows what he's doing. And not staring at them like, that Montreal team over there. Yeah, I want them. Well, do you want them the money line or the spread? What's the spread?
I didn't even because so obviously I have like Canadian like phone, like the Canadian apps and stuff like the app store. So I wasn't able, I would search up these sports books in Vegas and they weren't coming up on my app store. So Carmine grabbed my phone. He's like, here, I'll do it for you. Since I saw you in March and I haven't figured out yet how to change it back to Canadian. So there's some apps that are Canadian that I haven't been able to download, honestly, since I got back. But I'm going to show up at the Westgate and maybe, if I'm out at, we're out drinking or at a dinner, of course, I'll punch in a couple bets at, if I can get Hamilton plus 10, I'll be, out with my girlfriend at dinner, I'll punch it in. And honestly, being on a trip, I'm not staying that long. I'm staying Thursday afternoon until Monday. So I don't know if I hit a big score, give me that cash. I'm going to the club with the guys,
You're going to need that money for San Diego.
Yes, I can't. I'm so excited. I'm excited for Vegas, but really I can't wait for that trip. We're only going to be there for like 2.5 days, I think, or 2 days. But I've only been to Yankee Stadium. I went to a Blue Jays game when I was young, but don't really remember that experience. I've heard Petco Park is a lot of fun, and I'm seeing Padres Guardians, so that'll be a good time. And I told one of my buddies that he loves to gamble, and I said, it's going to be really hard for me not to bet at the game when I'm there, but I think I might have to do it. And he looked at me like I had 10 heads. He goes, what do you mean you might do it? He said, you're going to bet on that game, whether it's live or in the 8th inning or a pre-flop. He said, you're going to be there and bet. It's a matter of if you tell your girlfriend you bet on the game or not.
You can always do a couple home run props. You can do a J-Ram homer. You can do a Soto homer. I have a few choice words for Mr. Tatis right now. He's costing me a lot of money, but that's for another show. So, I mean,
fantasy.
Yeah, I'm in a super in the NFBC, $2,500 entry fee, 14 teams. First prize $20K, second prize $7,500, third prize $5,000, 4 through 14. Thanks for playing. So we drafted Trevor Bauer, didn't get a start out of him. We drafted Grayson Rodriguez from Baltimore, didn't get a start out of him. We drafted Tatis, didn't get a start out of him. And the thing is, we're in second place right now. So Tatis was going to be that final piece to keep us in second, maybe a miracle swing, at least cash 7,500, and then we move on. Now I got, holding the bag, we cut Tatis for, like Glenn Hoffman or something. There's no one that equals Tatis. I mean,
yeah. Are you able to pick somebody up now? Because he's not.
Yeah,
Or
exactly. You just hold them on your bench, and we cut him on Sunday, obviously, and picked up Joey Bag of Donuts or something, and just to fill the roster spot.
yeah.
Still salty about Tatis, but the last game, 7:00, Calgary at Toronto. I'd probably say the best game on the board. Looking at the numbers itself, Calgary -2.5. You can grab the Argonauts +2.5, both -110. Under over of 50, -10, both sides. Calgary -140 and Toronto +120. So there again, I'm going to go to what I said on the last game. They're giving you Hamilton +3 with a +130. Yet Calgary's -2.5 and they're -140. I told you those numbers didn't add up.
No, not at all. Look, Toronto has just ruled Andrew Harris out for the rest of the season. Not just a couple games like they thought it would be, the rest of the season. A team that was starting to improve, starting to actually, see McLeod Bethel Thompson take care of the ball a little bit better. But I'm sure you can recall, Jeff, a few times I've come on the show and talked ad nauseum about how they just force-fed Andrew Harris the ball. I mean, it was like Marshawn Lynch type of thing. Like just every single play, no matter if you knew it was coming or not, they could tell the other opposing coach who the ball was going to. It didn't matter. He would get the ball. I remember they had it was, third down, goal line. Everybody in the entire world knew they were going to Harris. They go to him. They get stopped. Don't score or whatever. Point being is this team is completely different without him. I always say in the NHL when I'm talking with you or any other show I do that you can't overreact. I feel like this is a market underreacting to this big time, Jeff. I really do. I think that they are, amount of times you hear about a star quarterback being out in the NFL and you hear the experts, so to speak, say, that guy's worth half a point. That guy's worth 1 point. Andrew Harris is a lot of this offense. And if they can't run the ball, that means you got to trust McLeod Bethel Thompson to throw the ball. And I do not trust that guy. What does he average already? 2 picks a game. Now he's losing a guy that he gives 20 rushes to, touches to every single week, So it's been a whirlwind of a schedule for Calgary. They've had their heart broken quite a bit recently. Tough losses against Winnipeg. Now a 1.4140 loss against BC. Are they out of steam? Are they out of gas? Maybe they are. Or maybe they go into Toronto, a team that's in shambles after losing their star running back, and just beat them down. As you can tell, this is my best bet of the week here. Giving out on the show, my favorite play of the week here. And I'm taking the money line here, Jeff, with the visiting Stampeders. They've got to be pissed off. They've got to be motivated, and they just put up 40 points. Let's not worry about allowing 41 to BC. They put up 40 points. Their offense is looking good. Bo Levi Mitchell played the best game of the year so far. Toronto will not be able to hang with them. Calgary on the money line for me. Best bet of the week here.
I love that one. I had a feeling that's where you were going with that one. So I agree. I definitely agree there. So we're on the same one on that one as well. So you talked about your trip. The scroll has been going the whole time. I mean, if anyone has been following us this long and not following you at McInnis Picks at Wager Talk Sports Mayflower, go over obviously to YouTube to Mayflower Sports. They can grab your best CFL pick. ECSI 15 is the promo code. Tell everyone else, I know you got a busy weekend ahead. I am so jealous heading out to Vegas for your meet and greet at the Westgate, tiptoeing over to San Diego for a few days with the bride, and just tell everyone where they can stay in touch with you. How's that sound?
Well, yeah, first of all, Twitter, of course, McInnis Picks, DM me, whether it's, you can tweet at me, DM me, ask what I have going on. But as I always say, and I think as you say as well, we would rather people be on for the longer term, longer than even a day. And right now, actually, they just made this deal going on at wagertalk.com. 3 days for the price of one. So a day pass is usually $39. I've got tennis going on, MLB, NFLX, CFL, a lot going on. UFC on the weekend. Can't wait for that card. You can get that for $39. So 3 days. And while I'm traveling, while I'm busy, not a lot of packages are going up. I'm posting my picks. You know, the time zone will be throwing me off a little bit. Don't worry about buying these individual picks from me. Buy a package the second I release. And it's great for anybody watching and hasn't, been to the website before. You can sign up to get the picks right to your phone. So you get an alert, like as if it's a text message from a buddy. Right there, it's Andrew McInnis, CFL play. Here it is. Boom, punch it in. So 3 days for the price of one, Jeff, is the one that I'll let people know about. And if you want my picks, that's what I recommend for this weekend. $39 for 3 days, all access.
Well, I'll be living through you over the weekend at the Westgate. I know last time in March you had a blast. Now it's football season. There'll even be a bigger buzz. People signing up for the Westgate contest. They'll be.
What's a pick you have for me? What do you got for me for this weekend? Are you involved in NFLX? I got to dedicate one pick for you.
I will send it to you. How's that sound?
Okay. Yeah. Whether it doesn't matter what it is. And I'll make you if we win that pick, I'll tell my girlfriend we're going out to dinner on Jeff. And we're going to a nice restaurant on Jeff.
And if you lose, you always got the South Point and the hot dogs card.
Yeah, we're walking to eat some dogs.
I can't wait. So that's the one and only Mr. Andrew McInnis and McInnis Picks at Wager Talk. He will be at the Westgate this weekend, the Wager Talk meet and greet. Go over there, say hello to Andrew, introduce yourself. A lot of people from Wager Talk. Is Kelly making the trip?
Yes, she will be there.
So the one and
I'm sure
only,
she'll have a big crew with her, I think.
The one and only Kelly Stewart, the Kelly in Vegas, will be making her presence. Say hi to John Murray over there from Westgate for us back east. Have a blast. Safe travels as always. And yes, you have the week off next week. We already talked about that. So there'll be no Jeff and Andrew on the 24th. We'll be back on the 31st and wrapping up August, getting ready for September. How's that sound?
Awesome. Can't wait. We'll get our futures going for the NHL before we know it.
Can't wait as well. So for myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Invest, from the one, the only Andrew McInnis at McInnis Picks and at Wager Talk, we wish everyone a blessed day. Have some fun. I mean, we gave you some World Juniors. We gave you some CFL. No one talks those two like us do. So have a day. Be safe. Cash a few tickets. Stay in your lanes. We got 2 weeks till September, and the pigskin will be flying. So we will catch up to you in 38 minutes. Dan Alexander from Newbie Talks, from Wager Talk. We'll be talking Premier Lacrosse because he's got to be traveling to see you in a couple of days. So
I got to ask, do you know, are there at the Westgate, will there be lacrosse lines? Because if that's the case, we're all counting on Big Dan to hook us up with some win. Tell him I said that too. We got to get some winners out of him.
Come hell or high water, we'll make sure you got some Premier Lacrosse this weekend. How's that?
Sounds good.
All right. Have a day, gentlemen, and we will see you soon.